humiliated the elderly man at the company door, without knowing he was the new owner. Clarence Wilson felt his legs tremble as he walked toward the mirrored building in downtown Chicago. At 68 years old, he never imagined that one day he would need to be there, facing a situation that would change his life forever. When he tried to pass through the revolving door, a woman in a black suit intercepted him with a shout that echoed throughout the lobby. "Hey, you can't come in here!" Jennifer Collins, the 32-year-old administrative manager, pointed her finger toward the elderly man. "This is a corporate environment, not a shelter." Clarence stopped in his tracks, gripping the worn leather briefcase he carried more tightly. His simple clothes contrasted with the luxurious surroundings of the building. "Miss, I have an appointment scheduled for this morning," he said in a calm voice, trying to show a paper he held in his hand. "An appointment?" Jennifer laughed loudly, drawing the attention of employees passing by. "Look, everyone, this gentleman thinks he has an appointment here at our company." The building security guard approached quickly. Jennifer made an imperative gesture. "Derek, get this man out of here before clients see him. This is terrible for our image." "Miss, please, I just need to speak with someone from the board," insisted Clarence, feeling his face heat up with shame. "It's about an inheritance, about company shares." "Inheritance?" Jennifer burst out laughing again. "Now he's making up stories. Derek, take him outside and don't let him come back. If he shows up again, call the police." The security guard, a young man who seemed uncomfortable with the situation, gently touched Clarence's arm. "Sorry, Mr. Clarence, but the lady is in charge. You'll have to leave." "You know this man?" Jennifer turned furiously to the security guard. "He's always been polite to me, Miss Jennifer. He worked here for many years as a janitor before he retired. Even worse, a former cleaning employee trying to act important. Get him out of here now." Clarence felt tears burning his eyes as he was escorted out. On the sidewalk, he watched the flow of executives coming and going from the building that had been his second home for so many years. What Jennifer didn't know was that 3 weeks earlier, Clarence had received a visit from a lawyer with news that would change everything. His older brother, Howard Wilson, founder and majority shareholder of Wilson & Associates, had passed away in a traffic accident in Washington, D.C., leaving his entire fortune to the only living relative he knew. For 40 years, the brothers hadn't spoken. Howard had built a business empire while Clarence chose a simple life, working as a janitor in the same company his brother ran, without anyone knowing about their relationship. Mr. Richard Stevenson, the family lawyer, had explained all the details of the inheritance. Clarence was now the owner of 70% of the company's shares, automatically becoming the majority shareholder and new chairman of the board. "Mr. Howard left a letter for you," the lawyer had said that rainy afternoon. "He always knew where you worked. He said he wanted to make peace before passing, but pride always got in the way." Clarence had spent sleepless nights thinking about what to do. The company was worth millions, but he knew nothing about business. His only experience was the 30 years cleaning the offices, listening to executives' conversations, and observing how things worked. He decided to show up at the company that morning to personally meet the people who ran the place where he had spent most of his life. He wanted to understand how it worked before making any decisions about his new position. But Jennifer's reception was much worse than he had imagined. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing, across the street, sitting on a park bench, Clarence watched the comings and goings from the building. His mind wandered back to the days when he'd arrived there at 5 in the morning, when the place was still empty and quiet. He knew every hallway, every office, every person who worked there. For years he'd been invisible to most employees, but he knew them better than they imagined. He remembered Jennifer when she started at the company 5 years ago. She was an ambitious 27-year-old, freshly graduated in business administration, who quickly climbed the corporate ladder. Clarence had witnessed several situations where she mistreated lower-ranking employees. Once he found a young intern crying in the restroom because Jennifer had humiliated her in front of everyone over a minor mistake. Another time, he saw her fire a janitor just because he'd asked for a day off to take his daughter to the doctor. She wasn't like that when she first arrived, he murmured to himself, remembering the timid girl who barely greeted her colleagues during her first months. Power had changed Jennifer. With every promotion, she became colder, more arrogant. Clarence had witnessed this transformation over all these years, cleaning the offices while she advanced in her career. His phone rang. It was Mr. Stevenson. "Clarence, where are you? We scheduled to meet at 9 in the president's office." "Doctor, I tried to enter, but I was thrown out by the manager. She said I couldn't be there." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Thrown out? But you're the new owner of the company. This is absurd." "I'm coming up right now to resolve this situation." "No, doctor, leave it for now. I want to observe a bit more before revealing myself." "Are you sure? You have every right to be there." "Yes, I do. Meet me at the corner cafe in an hour. I need to talk to you about some things I've observed." Clarence hung up the phone and continued watching the building. He knew his decision not to reveal himself immediately might seem strange, but there was a reason. During all those years as a janitor, he had witnessed situations that deeply troubled him. He saw employees being mistreated, decisions made without consideration for people, and a corporate culture that prioritized only financial results. Howard had built a prosperous company, but Clarence questioned whether it was being run the right way. He wanted to better understand how things worked before taking on any responsibility. At 10 o'clock, he met with Mr. Stevenson at the cafe. The lawyer was an elegant 50-year-old man who had represented the family for decades. "Clarence, you need to understand the situation. The company is going through a delicate moment. Howard had been planning some changes before the accident." "What kind of changes?" "He was concerned about the management. He had received some complaints about the treatment of employees. He wanted to implement more humane policies." Clarence took a sip of coffee and became thoughtful. "Doctor, I knew my brother when we were young. He was always ambitious, but he also had a good heart. What happened to make him change?" "Actually, I don't think he ever completely changed. In recent years, he'd been coming to me frequently to talk about you. He said he'd made a mistake by distancing himself from the family." "Why did he never try to reach out to me?" "Pride, mostly. And also fear of being rejected. He knew you were working at the company, but he didn't have the courage to approach you." Clarence felt a tightness in his chest. So many years wasted because of both their pride. "What did he plan to do with the company?" "I wanted to create an employee appreciation program, improve working conditions, and implement more humanized management. I had several projects in the drawer." "And now these projects are on hold?" "Yes. The administrative board is waiting for the new president to be defined before making any major decisions." Clarence looked out the coffee shop window, seeing the company building in the distance. "Doctor, I'd like to do something different before officially taking over." "What do you have in mind?" "I want to go back there as a regular employee for a few weeks. I want to truly understand how things work, see how people behave when they think they're dealing with someone without power." Mr. Stevenson widened his eyes. "That's very risky. What if they find out? Besides, you're no longer an employee of the company." "I can come back as an outsourced worker, providing temporary cleaning services. I know the area supervisor. He can help me." "Clarence, this could complicate things legally." "Doctor, I spent 30 years observing this company from the bottom up. Now I want to understand how it works from the inside out before making any important decisions." The lawyer sighed, realizing Clarence was determined. "All right. But let's do this officially. I'll create a temporary contract for you as an internal consultant, disguised as a cleaning employee. That way, everything will be documented." "Perfect. And doctor, for now, don't tell anyone about my true identity." "Agreed. But promise me that if anything goes wrong, you'll stop this experiment." "I promise." That afternoon, Clarence looked for Raymond, supervisor of the outsourced cleaning team. He was a 50-year-old man with whom he had always maintained a good relationship. "Mr. Clarence, what a surprise to see you here. How's retirement?" "Hi, Raymond. Actually, I came to talk to you about a possible job opportunity." "A job? But aren't you retired?" "I am, but you know how it is. Retirement doesn't go very far. I was wondering if you might have a temporary spot for me on the team." Raymond scratched his head, thoughtful. Well, just yesterday one of the guys quit. I have an opening for the morning shift, but are you sure? It's tough for your age. Yes, I'm sure. I need some extra income and I know the place well. All right, you can start tomorrow, but I'll have to put you on the first floor, which is where they need help the most. Clarence smiled inwardly. The first floor was exactly where Jennifer's office was. The next morning he put on the blue cleaning company uniform and reported for work. He arrived early, as he always did, and began his duties in the main hallways. At 8 o'clock, when Jennifer arrived at the office, she almost tripped when she saw him mopping the floor near her room. "What are you doing here?" she shouted, attracting curious looks. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm working." "Working? I had you removed from here yesterday. You told me to leave as a visitor. Today I'm here as an outsourced cleaning employee." Jennifer turned red with anger. "This is absurd. You're stalking me." "Ma'am, I'm just doing my job. If you have any complaints, you can talk to my supervisor." She slammed the office door hard, making the glass shake. Clarence continued his duties normally, but noticed that she was watching him through the blinds. During the morning, he witnessed several situations that confirmed his suspicions about the work environment in the company. He saw Jennifer yell at a secretary because the coffee was cold. He watched her humiliate an intern in front of other employees because a report was 5 minutes late. He overheard a conversation where she ridiculed an older employee who had asked to leave early to go to the doctor. "These older people are nothing but trouble," she commented to another manager. "They get sick all the time, don't have the energy to work properly. The company should get rid of these folks." Clarence felt a mix of sadness and indignation. Was that how she saw people like him? During lunch, he sat in the square to eat the sandwich he had brought from home. That's when Sarah, one of the secretaries who had witnessed the morning's humiliation, approached him. "You're Mr. Clarence, right? Who used to work here before?" "Yes, I am." "Do you know me?" "Of course. You were always very kind to everyone. We were sad when we heard you had retired." "Thank you, Sarah. And how's work around here?" She looked around before answering in a low voice. "To tell you the truth, it's very difficult. Jennifer has been getting more and more unbearable. Everyone is stressed, afraid of being fired. Why don't you file a complaint with the management? Who's going to listen? She has protection from up top. They say she has a close relationship with the board members." Clarence grew concerned with this information. If Jennifer really had influence on the board, things could be more complicated than he imagined. "Sarah, do you know the people on the administrative board well?" "Some of them. Why?" "Just curious. What are they like with the employees?" "Well, most of them don't even know we exist. They only care about numbers and results. But there's Dr. Robert, who's more human. He sometimes talks to the staff." "And the president? What was Mr. Howard like?" "Ah, poor man. He was more reserved but always respectful. He never mistreated anyone. It's a shame what happened to him." "What do you mean?" "The traffic accident. It was very sudden. It left everyone shocked." Clarence nodded, feeling again the pain of losing the brother he barely had a chance to know. "And now? Who's going to take over as president?" "No one knows. They say he left everything to a distant relative, but no one knows who it is. Meanwhile, the company is being run by the board." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. In the afternoon, Clarence was cleaning the hallway near the meeting room when he heard loud voices coming from inside. He recognized Jennifer's voice arguing with someone. "It doesn't matter what you think. My management doubled the productivity of the administrative sector. But Jennifer, employee complaints are increasing," replied a male voice that Clarence recognized as Dr. Roberts. "Complaints from lazy employees who don't want to work. The company isn't an NGO, doctor. We're here to make a profit. There's a difference between efficiency and mistreatment, Jennifer. Mistreatment? I demand excellence. If someone can't keep up, that's their problem, not mine." Clarence continued cleaning, pretending not to hear, but absorbing every word of the conversation. "Jennifer, I've received concerning reports about employee turnover in your sector," said another female voice. "Turnover is part of the business, Dr. Susan. Those who leave aren't cut out for the company. Or because they can't handle your way of treating people," murmured Dr. Robert. "What was that?" Jennifer raised her voice. Nothing. I just think we need to review some management practices. Look here. Ever since Mr. Howard hasn't been around, you all think you can question my work. I have results to show. No one is questioning your results, Jennifer, intervened Dr. Susan. We're concerned about the methods. Methods that work. And I'll tell you something. When the new president takes over, I'll make sure to show him how to really run a company. And what if he doesn't agree with your methods? Asked Dr. Robert. Agree? Doctor, whoever this relative of Mr. Howard may be, they've probably never set foot in a company in their life. They'll need experienced people like me to run the business. You seem very certain he'll keep you in your position, observed Dr. Susan. Yes, I am. My numbers speak for themselves. And if he tries to mess with me, he'll see what kind of reaction to expect. Clarence felt a shiver hearing Jennifer's threatening tone. She was clearly feeling untouchable. The meeting ended, and the board members left the room. Dr. Robert greeted Clarence with a polite nod, unaware of who he really was. Jennifer was the last to leave. When she saw Clarence in the hallway, she made a scornful face. Still here? I thought you'd given up after yesterday. Just doing my job, ma'am. Job? She laughed sarcastically. People your age should be at home, resting, not trying to return to places where they're no longer needed. We all have the right to work, don't we? Right? Jennifer stepped closer, speaking quietly but aggressively. Listen here, old man, I don't know what you're scheming, but I won't tolerate disruption in my work environment. You should know I'm keeping an eye on you. She walked away, leaving Clarence alone in the hallway. He took a deep breath, trying to control the mix of anger and sadness he felt. That night at home, Clarence talked to his neighbor, Mrs. Martha, a 70-year-old lady who had become his confidant after his wife passed away. Mr. Clarence, you look worried. Did something happen at the new job? Mrs. Martha, do you think people change a lot when they have power? Oh, my dear, that's a tough question. I think power doesn't change people. It just shows who they really are. What do you mean? When a good person has power, they use it to help others. When a bad person has power, they use it to hurt. Power is like a mirror, you know? Clarence became thoughtful. Had Jennifer always been like this, or had the position changed her? Mrs. Martha, if you discovered you had the power to change an unfair situation, what would you do? Well, I'd change it, of course, but carefully, so I don't become like the people causing the injustice. His neighbor's words echoed in Clarence's mind all night. He was starting to understand that taking over as president of the company would be more complex than he imagined. The next day, he arrived at work determined to observe more closely how Jennifer interacted with different people. He wanted to understand if she mistreated only lower-level employees or if she was like that with everyone. During the morning, he witnessed a scene that particularly disturbed him. A young intern, Emily, about 20 years old, arrived at work visibly nervous. Clarence knew her because she always greeted the cleaning staff politely. Jennifer called her into her office for a conversation that Clarence could overhear while cleaning the adjacent room. Emily, I need to talk to you about your performance. Yes, ma'am, is there a problem? Yes, there is. Yesterday you turned in the report 15 minutes late. It was because the system crashed when I was finishing up. I had to redo everything. I don't care about the excuse. In this company, deadlines are deadlines. I understand, Mum, it won't happen again. I hope not, because if it does, you can look for another place to intern. Ma'am, can I explain better what happened? Mr. Bryan from IT can confirm the system really had problems. Are you doubting my word? No, ma'am. I just wanted to clarify. Clarify nothing. You're questioning my authority. That's very serious for an intern. Clarence heard Emily start to cry softly. Please, Mum, I really need this internship. I'm in my last semester of college and your problem. You should have thought of that before challenging me. I wasn't challenging. Yes, you were. And do you know what happens to employees who challenge me? There was a heavy silence. You're fired. You can grab your things and leave right now. No, please, I didn't do anything wrong. The exit is over there. And don't think about making a scene, because I'll make sure no company in the city hires you. Clarence heard quick footsteps and then the door slamming. When he looked into the hallway, he saw Emily leaving with a box in her hands, crying desperately. That was the last straw for Clarence. He could no longer stand by while innocent people were mistreated like that. During lunch, he looked for Mr. Stevenson in the office. "Mr. Stevenson, I can't stand seeing these injustices anymore. I just witnessed a young woman being fired for absolutely nothing." "Clarence, I warned you that this experience could be difficult." "It's not just difficult, Mr. Stevenson. It's infuriating. I need to do something." "What do you have in mind?" "I want to speed up the process of taking over the presidency, but first, I want to document everything that's happening." "Document how?" "I want you to hire a private investigator to collect employee testimonies about the work environment. I need concrete evidence before taking any measures." "That can be done, but it will take a few weeks." "How long?" "About 3 weeks for a full report." "All right. During that time, I'll continue working there to gather more information." "Clarence, be careful. If they discover your true identity before the right time, it could complicate everything." "I'll be careful, Mr. Stevenson." In the following days, Clarence intensified his observation of the work environment. He started talking more with employees during breaks, always discreetly, trying to better understand the overall situation of the company. He discovered that Jennifer wasn't the only problem. There was a whole culture of disrespect that spread through some sectors. Senior employees mistreated newcomers, managers abused their authority, and there was destructive competition between departments. But he also found good people working there, like Dr. Robert, who genuinely cared about the employees, like Brian from IT, who always patiently helped his colleagues, like Sarah, who tried to protect the weaker ones from injustices. One discovery that surprised him was learning that his brother Howard, in his last months of life, had started to notice these problems and was planning significant changes. Mr. Howard had called some people for private conversations. Sarah shared during one of the breaks. He wanted to know how the work environment was, if people were happy. And what did people say? Most were afraid to tell the truth. Only Dr. Robert and a few others were honest with him. And what was his reaction? He became very concerned. He said he was going to implement major changes in the company's structure. Clarence felt a mix of pride and sadness. Despite all the years apart, his brother had kept his heart in the right place. In the second week of his undercover experience, something happened that almost exposed his true identity. Clarence was cleaning the first-floor bathroom when he overheard a conversation between two board members in the hallway. "Robert, have you heard anything about the new president?" asked Dr. Susan. "Mr. Stevenson said he should appear in the coming weeks. It seems he's preparing to take over. I hope he's someone sensible. The company urgently needs changes." "I agree, especially in the human resources area. Jennifer is creating a toxic environment." "I've thought about talking to her, but you know how she is. She thinks she's untouchable. Maybe the new president can put her in her place." "I certainly hope so. I can't stand seeing employees leaving here traumatized anymore." Clarence was happy to learn that at least some board members were aware of the problems and willing to support changes. But his joy was interrupted when Jennifer appeared in the hallway and saw him coming out of the restroom with the cleaning supplies. "What were you doing in there?" she asked suspiciously. "Cleaning the restroom, Mom. It's part of my job." "Are you sure you were just cleaning? You weren't eavesdropping on conversations?" "What do you mean, Ma'am? Don't play dumb. I've noticed you always show up in places where people are talking." Dr. Robert and Dr. Susan stopped to observe the discussion. "Jennifer, what's the problem?" asked Dr. Robert. "Doctor, this employee is always appearing in places where we're having important conversations. I find it suspicious." "Suspicious? He's working, Jennifer." "I'm not so sure. There's something strange about this man." "What kind of strange thing?" intervened Dr. Susan. "I can't explain it, but there's something different about him, and yesterday I heard him asking strange questions to the employees." Clarence felt his heart race. Jennifer was starting to get suspicious. "What kind of questions?" insisted Dr. Robert. "Questions about what it's like to work here, about the bosses, about the company. What cleaning employee gets interested in these things?" "Maybe he's just trying to adapt to the work environment," suggested Dr. Susan. "Or maybe he's a spy from some competing company," Jennifer retorted. "Jennifer, now you're exaggerating," said Dr. Robert. "Am I? Doctor, I have a very good instinct for these things, and I'm telling you there's something wrong with this man. Clarence decided he needed to say something to defend himself. Ma'am, I just ask normal questions because I like to get to know the people I work with. There's nothing wrong with that. See? Jennifer pointed at him. Even his way of speaking is different. What cleaning employee speaks with such politeness? Dr. Robert and Dr. Susan exchanged looks, starting to find the situation strange. Jennifer, you're being paranoid, said Dr. Robert, but his voice had a hint of uncertainty. It might be paranoia, Doctor, but I'll keep an eye on him. She walked away, leaving Clarence alone with the two board members. Don't worry about her, said Dr. Susan. Jennifer sees problems in everything. Thank you, Doctor. But tell me something, intervened Dr. Robert. Did you really work here before? Yes, I did, Doctor, for 30 years. And what was the environment like back then? Clarence realized he was being tested. It was different, Doctor. People respected each other more. There was less tension. Interesting. And what changed, in your opinion? I think people forgot that a company is made of people, not just numbers. Doctor, Robert nodded thoughtfully. Very wise. Thank you for the conversation. When the two walked away, Clarence breathed a sigh of relief. He had passed the test, but he knew Jennifer wouldn't give up so easily. That night, he called Mr. Stevenson. Sir, I think I'll have to speed up the process even more. Jennifer is getting suspicious of me. What happened? Clarence told him about the conversation in the hallway. That's concerning. If she starts investigating, she might discover your true identity. Exactly. How much more time do you need for the report? 1 more week. The investigator has already collected several testimonies. We just need to finalize the documentation. 1 week might be too long. Clarence, if you want, we can stop the experiment now and you can take over the presidency immediately. No. I want to finish this properly, but I'll be more careful. All right. But if there's any problem, call me immediately. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The next day, Clarence decided to change his strategy. Instead of wandering the hallways, he would focus his activities in less busy areas to avoid drawing attention. But Jennifer was truly determined to figure out what was strange about him. Throughout the morning, she appeared several times in the places where he was working, always with a different excuse. You know this company well, right? She asked on one such occasion. Yes, I do. I worked here for many years. And did you know Mr. Howard personally? Clarence hesitated for a moment. I knew him by sight. He was always very polite to me. Polite? Jennifer seemed surprised. I didn't know he talked with cleaning staff. Sometimes he greeted me in the hallway. Interesting. And what did you think when you found out he left the company to an unknown relative? I thought it was normal. Family is family, right? Normal? A man leaving millions to someone nobody knows. That seems normal to you? Clarence realized he was being interrogated. Ma'am, I just clean floors. I don't understand these things about inheritance and money. Are you sure? Because you seem to know a lot for someone who just cleans floors. The tension in the air was becoming palpable. Clarence decided to pretend he didn't understand the insinuations. Would you like me to do some specific cleaning? I can go to another floor if I'm in the way. Jennifer studied him for a few seconds. No, stay right here. I like keeping interesting people around. She walked away, but Clarence felt there was something threatening in her words. During lunch, Sarah approached him in the square, looking worried. Mr. Clarence, can I give you some advice? Of course, Sarah. Be careful with Jennifer. She's been speaking badly about you to everyone. Speaking badly how? She says you're suspicious that you might be a spy from another company. She even threatened to request an investigation into your past. Clarence felt a chill. Investigation? Yes. She has contacts in corporate security. If she wants, she can find out everything about a person's life. And why would she do that to me? I don't know. Maybe because she noticed you're not afraid of her like the other employees. Clarence became thoughtful. Perhaps his confident demeanor developed over years of life experience was drawing too much attention. "Sarah, do you think I should resign?" "I don't know, Mr. Clarence. I just know that when Jennifer takes a dislike to someone, she doesn't rest until she destroys that person." That information made Clarence make an important decision. That same afternoon, he called Mr. Stevenson. "Doctor, I need to speed up the process. I'm taking over as president next week. But the report isn't ready yet. It doesn't matter, I'll work with the information I already have." "Are you sure?" "Yes." "Schedule a board meeting for Monday. I'm going to reveal myself officially." "Very well. I'll arrange everything." "And doctor, I want you to prepare a proposal for restructuring the administrative department. We'll start the changes immediately." Over the weekend, Clarence spent hours planning his first actions as president. He knew it would be a delicate moment and wanted to be prepared for all possible reactions. He also thought a lot about what he had observed during those weeks. The company had serious management problems, but it also had good people who deserved a chance to work in a better environment. On Monday morning, he arrived at the company as usual, wearing his cleaning uniform. He knew it would be his last day working in that way. Jennifer greeted him with a sarcastic smile. "Good morning, cleaning staff. Sleep well?" "Good morning, ma'am. Yes, I did." "That's good, because today could be a very interesting day for you." "How so?" "Oh, you'll find out. I have some surprises prepared." Clarence pretended not to understand, but he knew she was plotting something. At 10 o'clock, Mr. Stevenson arrived at the building accompanied by two men in suits. Clarence saw them passing through the lobby and going up to the executive floor. At 10:30, a secretary announced over the speakers that all employees should gather in the auditorium for an important announcement. Jennifer heard the announcement with a curious expression. "What meeting is this?" she murmured. "No one told me anything." Clarence continued his activities normally, pretending the meeting had nothing to do with him. "Hey you," Jennifer called to him. "Contracted workers should also attend the meeting." "Me, Mum?" "Yes, you. Come on, everyone has to go." "Everyone has." Clarence put away the cleaning supplies and followed the other employees to the auditorium. His heart was racing, knowing that the moment of truth had finally arrived. The auditorium was packed. Employees from all departments were whispering, speculating about the reason for the meeting. Clarence sat in the back rows trying to go unnoticed. Dr. Roberts stepped onto the stage and asked for silence. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this meeting. We have a very important announcement to make." He paused, looking at the audience. "As you all know, our company went through a difficult time with the passing of Mr. Howard. Today, we are here to officially introduce his successor." A murmur spread through the auditorium. Jennifer leaned forward in her chair, clearly eager to meet the new president. The new president and majority shareholder is someone who knows our company very well, someone who worked here for many years and has a clear vision of our values and mission. "Doctor," Robert gestured toward the side of the stage, "for you, Mr. Clarence Wilson." For a moment there was absolute silence in the auditorium. Then, when Clarence stood up from the back row and began walking toward the stage, whispers and exclamations of surprise started. Jennifer turned as white as a sheet. Her eyes widened in an expression of total shock. "No, it can't be," she murmured, disbelieving. Clarence stepped onto the stage, still wearing the blue cleaning uniform. The image was surreal. A man in simple clothes taking over the presidency of a multi-million-dollar company. Dr. Robert handed him the microphone. "Thank you, Dr. Robert," said Clarence, his voice echoing through the silent auditorium. "Good morning, everyone. I know this is an unusual situation and many of you must be confused." He looked at the audience, meeting familiar and surprised faces. "My name is Clarence Wilson. I am the younger brother of your Howard, and by inheritance I have become the new majority shareholder of this company." More murmurs spread through the auditorium. Jennifer was visibly trembling in her chair. "I know many of you know me as a cleaning employee. I worked here for 30 years and retired 2 years ago. In recent weeks, I returned to work here, not out of financial need, but because I wanted to understand how our company operates today." Clarence paused, letting the information sink in. "During these weeks, I observed, listened, and learned many things. Some made me proud, others worried me deeply." He looked directly at Jennifer, who was trying to shrink in her chair. I found that we have extraordinary employees, dedicated and competent people who make this company work. But I also discovered that we have serious problems in our organizational culture. The tension in the auditorium was palpable. Everyone understood that important changes were coming. Starting today, we will implement some fundamental changes. First, we'll establish a direct communication channel between the presidency and all employees. I want you all to feel comfortable reporting any problems or suggestions. Sarah, in the audience, smiled for the first time in a long while. Second, we'll review all our people management practices. We will no longer tolerate any form of disrespect or abuse of authority. Jennifer closed her eyes, knowing her career at the company was coming to an end. Third, we'll implement an employee appreciation program with improvements in working conditions and growth opportunities for everyone. Spontaneous applause began echoing through the auditorium. I know these changes won't happen overnight, but I promise you we'll make this company a place where everyone can work with dignity and respect. The applause grew louder. Clarence saw tears of relief in several employees' eyes. Now I'd like to speak individually with some managers to discuss implementing these changes. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. When Clarence stepped off the stage, he was surrounded by employees wanting to greet him. Many expressed gratitude, while others made sure to share problems they had faced. Jennifer remained seated in her chair, motionless, watching the scene as if in a nightmare. Finally, she stood up and walked toward Clarence. The employees around them stepped back, sensing the tension. "Sir, Mr. President," she said, her voice trembling, "I need to speak with you." "Of course, Jennifer. Let's go to my office." They went up to the presidential floor, accompanied by Mr. Stevenson and Dr. Robert. The office that had been Howard's now belonged to Clarence. "Please have a seat," said Clarence, pointing to a chair in front of the desk. Jennifer sat down nervously, her hands shaking slightly. "Mr. Clarence, I didn't know—" "Didn't know what, Jennifer?" "That you were who you are." "And would that have changed anything? Would the way you treated me have been different if you'd known I owned the company?" She lowered her head, unable to respond. "Jennifer, over these past weeks I've witnessed situations that made me very concerned about your management." "Sir, I can explain." "Can you explain why you fired an innocent intern just because she tried to justify a delay caused by system problems?" Jennifer grew even paler. "Can you explain why you yell at employees, humiliate them publicly, and create an environment of fear at work?" "Sir, I was just trying to maintain discipline." "Discipline or abuse of power?" Tears began streaming down Jennifer's face. "Please, Mr. Clarence, I need this job. I have a daughter to raise alone. I promise I'll change." Clarence watched her silently for a few moments. "Jennifer, you're technically competent. Your reports are well done, you understand the company's processes, but your way of dealing with people is unacceptable. I can improve. Please give me a chance." "A chance? How many chances did you give the employees you mistreated?" She couldn't answer, crying softly. Clarence stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the street where he'd spent so many hours observing the building. "Jennifer, I'm going to make you a proposal." She lifted her head, hopeful. "You'll be transferred to another department as an analyst with no leadership role. Your salary will be reduced by 30%, and you'll take a course in human development and interpersonal relationships." "An analyst? But I've been a manager for 5 years." "You were a manager. Now you'll have to prove you deserve people's trust before holding any leadership position again. And if I accept these conditions, you'll have 6 months to demonstrate real change in your behavior. If you succeed, we can discuss a new growth opportunity. And if I don't accept, you'll have to look for another job with a recommendation letter that will precisely reflect your performance here." Jennifer fell silent, weighing her options. Can I think about it?" "You have until tomorrow to decide." She stood up, wiped her tears, and headed for the door. "Mr. Clarence, I'm truly sorry for how I treated you." "I know you are, Jennifer. The question is whether you truly understand why it was wrong." After she left, Dr. Robert commented, "That was very generous, Clarence. Many in your position would have fired her immediately." "Robert, if I did that, I'd be just as bad as her. People deserve a chance to change. And if she doesn't change, then it will be her choice, and she'll have to face the consequences." Mr. Stevenson smiled. "Your brother would be proud of you, Clarence." "I hope so, Mr. Stevenson. I hope so." In the following days, the news of the new presidency spread throughout the company. The general reaction was one of relief and hope. Employees who had felt undervalued for years began to see possibilities for change. Jennifer accepted Clarence's proposal and was transferred to the financial analysis department. In the first few days, it was hard for her to adjust to the new position, especially because some employees she had mistreated in the past were now her co-workers. But gradually, she began to understand the impact of her previous actions. Working without power over others forced her to develop collaboration skills she had never needed to use before. Clarence implemented his promises gradually. He created a direct communication channel through an anonymous suggestion box and monthly open meetings. He improved working conditions with renovations in common areas and flexible schedules. Most importantly, he established a clear zero-tolerance policy for any form of harassment or disrespect among employees. 3 months later, the company began to show positive results not only financially, but also in employee satisfaction surveys. Emily, the intern who had been unfairly fired by Jennifer, was rehired with a scholarship to finish college. She became one of the company's most dedicated employees. Sarah was promoted to customer service supervisor, a position she always deserved but never had the chance to take. Raymond, the cleaning supervisor, received a new contract that valued his team and offered better benefits for all outsourced workers. Jennifer, in turn, surprised everyone with her ability to change. Working without hierarchical power made her discover qualities she didn't know she had. She began to relate better with her colleagues and understand that leadership isn't synonymous with authoritarianism. In one of the monthly meetings, she asked to speak publicly. "I want to apologize to everyone I hurt during my previous management. I know my actions caused suffering and that it will take time to regain your trust. But I am committed to being a better person." The auditorium fell silent. Then, one by one, people began to applaud. It wasn't applause of complete forgiveness, but recognition that change is possible. 6 months later, on a Friday afternoon, Clarence was in his office when Jennifer knocked on the door. "Excuse me, Mr. Clarence. May I come in?" "Of course, Jennifer. Have a seat." She looked different. Calmer, more humble, but also more self-assured. "Sir, I came to talk about my 6-month evaluation." "I thought so. And how do you assess yourself?" "Honestly, I think I've changed a lot. Not just at work, but as a person. I realized that my previous behavior was a reflection of my own insecurities." "How so?" "I was afraid of not being respected, so I overcompensated by being authoritarian. I was afraid of seeming weak, so I was too harsh. Deep down, I mistreated others because I didn't know how to handle my own fears." Clarence nodded, impressed by the level of self-awareness she had developed. "And now? How do you feel?" "Lighter. I found out it's much easier to work when people like you than when they're afraid of you, and much more rewarding too." "What lesson would you take from these 6 months?" "That true power doesn't come from positions or authority, but from the respect we earn from people, and that respect is earned by respecting first." Clarence smiled. "Jennifer, we spoke with your entire current team. The reports are unanimously positive. You've managed to become a collaborative and respectful colleague." "Thank you, sir. That's why I want to make a proposal. We're creating a new human development department. It would be a leadership position, but focused on helping other employees develop their interpersonal skills." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. You're offering me a second chance to be a leader?" "I'm offering a chance to use your experience to help others avoid making the same mistakes you made." "But what if I can't do it? What if I go back to how I was before?" "Jennifer, real change doesn't happen overnight. It's a continuous process. You'll have support, supervision, and constant feedback, but the decision to keep changing is always yours." She remained silent for a few moments, absorbing the proposal. I accept. But I want you to know that regardless of the position, I'll keep working to become a better person. That's exactly the spirit we need. 2 years later, the company had completely transformed. Employee turnover dropped drastically, productivity increased, and the company was recognized as one of the best places to work in the city. Jennifer became one of the most respected leaders in the company, known for her ability to develop talent and resolve interpersonal conflicts. She often shared her own story as an example that people can change when given the right opportunity. Clarence, at 70 years old, found a purpose he never imagined having. He discovered that leading a company was very much like caring for a family. It required patience, understanding, and the ability to see potential in people. In an interview with a business magazine, he summarized his philosophy. "I learned that a company is much more than numbers and profits. It's a community of people who spend most of their lives working together. If these people aren't happy, if they don't feel respected, no financial success can make up for it." When asked about the company's future, he replied, "My goal is to develop leaders who understand that power is responsibility, not privilege. I want, when I'm no longer here, the culture of respect and dignity to continue." The journalist asked about Jennifer, whose transformation had become famous in the business world. Jennifer is proof that everyone deserves a second chance, but she's also proof that change requires the courage to admit mistakes and constant work to be better. Clarence's company became a model of humanized management, receiving visits from executives of other companies who wanted to learn from their experience. But for Clarence, the greatest reward wasn't the awards or recognition. It was arriving every morning and seeing employees greeting each other with respect, witnessing respectful conversations even during difficult discussions, knowing that people left work feeling valued. One afternoon, 5 years after taking over as president, Clarence was walking through the hallways when he encountered Emily, now graduated and promoted to senior analyst. "Mr. Clarence, how are you?" "Well, Emily, and you? How are your graduate studies going?" "Very well. Thank you again for the scholarship." "You deserve it, my dear. You've always been an exemplary employee." "Sir, may I ask a personal question?" "Of course." "Do you regret giving Jennifer a second chance? I know many people thought she should have been fired." Clarence smiled. "Emily, if I had fired Jennifer, she would have gone to work for another company and probably continued treating people poorly. By giving her a second chance, we not only saved her career, but also protected future co-workers she might have mistreated." "I never thought of it that way. Besides, the Jennifer of today is one of our best leaders. If I had fired her, we would have lost all that potential." "That's true. She helped me a lot when I was struggling with last quarter's project." "See? Sometimes giving a second chance is the best investment we can make." Emily smiled and continued on her way. Clarence remained in the hallway for a few moments, reflecting on his journey. He remembered the day he was humiliated at the company's entrance, the weeks working undercover, the difficulties implementing changes. He remembered the fear and resistance many people showed at the beginning, but he also remembered the joy in the employees' eyes when they realized they finally had leadership that cared about them. He remembered the pride he felt when the first satisfaction survey showed positive results. More importantly, he remembered the promise he had made to his wife before she passed away, to be a better person and make a difference in others' lives. Walking toward his office, Clarence thought of his brother Howard. Although they never had the chance to reconcile in life, he knew he had honored his brother's memory by transforming the company into something they both could be proud of. Passing by the department where Jennifer worked, he saw her patiently and kindly mentoring a new employee. She noticed his presence and waved with a genuine smile. Clarence returned the wave and continued walking, satisfied with the certainty that he had made the right decisions. That night, at home, Clarence wrote in his diary, "Today marks 5 years since I took over as company president. When I look back, I realize the humiliation I suffered at the building's entrance was actually a blessing in disguise. If Jennifer had welcomed me properly that day, I probably would never have discovered the company's real problems. Sometimes, the most difficult moments in our lives are exactly those that prepare us for the greatest growth. The pain of humiliation gave me the determination needed to make real changes. I learned that leadership isn't about having power over people, but about having responsibility for them. I learned that a second chance can transform not just one person's life, but everyone around them. More importantly, I learned that it's never too late to start over, to be better, to make a difference. Closing the diary, Clarence prepared to sleep, knowing that the next day would bring more opportunities to continue building a work environment where all people were treated with dignity and respect. Outside, the city of Chicago maintained its fast pace. Millions of people prepared for another workday, many of them facing difficulties similar to those Clarence's company employees had faced before. But at least in a downtown building, in a company once known for its rigidity and coldness, there now existed proof that change is possible, that leadership can be humane, and that every person deserves to be treated with respect. And all of this had started with an elderly man humiliated at a company's entrance, who chose to transform his pain into compassion and his experience into wisdom. The story of Clarence and Jennifer had become a legend in the local business community, not just for the financial results the company achieved, but mainly for proving that it's possible to reconcile business success with human values. Years later, when business students asked Clarence what the secret to his successful management had been, he always gave the same answer. The secret wasn't complicated. It was simply remembering that behind every role, every position, every number, there's a person with dreams, fears, family, and dignity. When you lead people, you're not just managing human resources, you're caring for lives. And so, the man who was humiliated for wearing simple clothes became one of the city's most respected leaders, proving that a person's true worth isn't in their appearance, but in their character and their ability to turn hardships into opportunities for growth. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story of overcoming and second chances. Do you believe people can truly change when given an opportunity? Leave your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories.